A very good morning to you and welcome along to the 2021 CARA LiveCast in association with Sport Ireland and the HSE. We're absolutely delighted to be speaking with you from RTÉ Studio 5, where the focus of today's conversations is on I'm in too, my choice to be active.
December 3rd is International Day for People with Disabilities, and what better way to celebrate this day than to be here together for our annual CARA LiveCast. We've nearly 500 people tuning in for this event today from all across Ireland, Europe and around the globe.
It'll be a day of great learning, sharing and reflecting with personal stories, interviews and conversations with a particular focus on inclusion in sport and physical activity.
Well, you can also follow this event and join in on the conversation online by using the hashtag CARA LiveCast. So we now invite you to sit back and enjoy the event.
So, on to our first session of the day, I'm in too, my choice to be active. The I'm in too movement, which CARA began in 2016, is all about listening to the voices of people with disabilities, sharing their experiences of being active. Having the opportunity and choice to be active is something CARA advocates and encourages. Within this session, we're going to speak with a number of guests who will talk about their experiences from a variety of perspectives. To begin with, here's Nikki.
My name is Nikki Bradley. I'm an adaptive adventurer from Donegal. I got into exercise about 8 years ago, and I did so with my health, my physical health in mind. I've had quite a few hip replacements and a lot of damage caused by radiotherapy. I was in a lot of pain for a very long time, and in 2013 I decided to take matters into my own hands and turn to exercise to see if it would have a positive impact, and thankfully it did. So there's a couple of benefits. One, it makes a physical difference to my body. It reduces pain. I was on a significant amount of pain medication before I looked at exercise as a solution. Thankfully, that has been greatly reduced over the years directly due to exercise. But one of the biggest, most positive side effects that I wasn't expecting was the effect it had on my head, or in my head. It's changed my outlook. It made me much more positive and less of a wimp when it came to going out into the great outdoors. I soon realised that by having the right gear on me, it didn't matter if it was raining or if it was snowing, that I could still get out and achieve what I wanted to achieve. Alongside doing some exercise, I'd set up a campaign called Fighting Fit for Ewings to raise awareness for the cancer that I had, which was Ewing sarcoma. And I wanted to build kind of a little bit of a community of people that were up for doing physical challenges, and I very much felt that if I was going to encourage other people to do it, I had to do it myself as well. So very early into the gym training, we decided that we would go outdoors as well and do some challenges, and the very first one of those was a hike up Muckish Mountain in Donegal. We picked the worst month of the year and the worst day of the year. We picked October, the end of October, and we couldn't have picked a worse day weather-wise. It was raining sideways. If there was driving wind and rain, we had to use whistles to be able to determine how close we were to each other because the mist was so dense that we couldn't actually see each other. And a hike that I've done so many times since would usually take maybe 2 hours max. Took us over 6 hours that day. It was the first time I'd walked for that amount of time on my crutches, and back then I just had standard hospital crutches, and to say that my shoulders and my hands were sore afterwards is an understatement. I was in bits, but I was elated. The feeling that I had going to bed that night was, I'll never forget it, and that was the start of adventuring for me. I think the biggest barrier for every one of us, myself included, is actually taking that first step, and it's something that we've heard a million times. If there's enough doubt in your head, you will make excuses not to do it. So how I got past that was by setting a little challenge for myself in January before 10 a.m. every day, and even if I just walked to the end of the garden and back again, the goal was to actually put the gear on and leave the house. It wasn't about distance, it was just about doing it, and that was all that I needed to break that little kind of, that rut I got into. So I would say that would be the biggest thing, is that first step. People have various disabilities, and straight away that can be seen as a barrier. If you're a wheelchair user, if you you're hard of hearing, you can, if you're in a busy built-up area going for a walk by yourself, if you can't hear, it can be terrifying because you don't know if there's somebody coming up behind you, and that can be enough to put you off actually doing it. what I would say is, rather than assuming you can't, find somebody, even if it's on social media, like do a little bit of research, find somebody that's doing something in the area that you're interested in, and simply follow their journey and get inspiration from them. That's exactly what I did, and it worked really well. Take the time to actually think what it is you enjoy, and if you're struggling to actually find something that you do enjoy outside, then before you kind of set anything in stone, give yourself the time to try a couple of things under no pressure. You know, say to yourself, I'm going to try hiking, I'm going to try cycling, I'm going to try running, or whatever it is. And if you find one of those three that you like, then you can kind of go down further into exploring that one sport and then see where it goes from there. But do a little bit of research and then make your decisions then. If exercise really isn't your thing, don't assume that you have to go hell for leather. You can do very gentle forms of exercise and still be working numerous muscles. There's new classes coming online all the time. You can do yoga, you can do lots of things that are very gentle, but it has to come from you. You know, if you feel guilted into doing something, you're always going to have that negative feeling when you approach that form of exercise. You will have that negative connotation with it, and you won't last if that's the way you're thinking about it. But if you have made the decision that from December, from January, for 3 or 4 months, I'm just going to give it my all, then because you yourself have decided, you're much more likely to succeed. So I would say, like, the theme of the conference is so perfect in that respect, that it has to be a choice, it has to be your choice, and everything we do, as I said, is, you know, we do have that choice to do it.
Nikki Bradley, founder of the Motivation Factory there, and the woman herself joins us here. Nikki, we're delighted to have you here, and you know, it's lovely seeing your piece there and you being outdoors. You mentioned you had Ewing sarcoma, and I wonder how active you were before you had the illness.
It's so funny, people always ask me this. They assume that I was just the most active teenager in the world, when in fact I was the complete opposite. I was a very stereotypical teenager that didn't do a huge amount at the time, but actually getting sick and coming out the other side, and really it really made me appreciate what I had, and as a result of that I sought some excitement in the outdoors. And once I did my first adventure, which required climbing a mountain in Donegal, I didn't really look back. I fell in love, and that was it.
There's probably a lot of people watching who maybe had cancer or something similar to what you had. Can you describe where you were at your lowest, and how long the rehabilitation process took?
So when I was diagnosed, it was a huge shock to me and my family. It just life-changing. Instantly, the day I was diagnosed, my life changed forever. And it required, because the cancer that I had was so rare, it required travelling to the UK to have my surgery. I also had chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So I went from being a schoolgirl, wearing the uniform that I had worn for many years before, to the day that I was diagnosed, never wearing it again. And then after that, I spent at least 1.5 years having treatment. So it was a really tough time, and it was very sudden. There was absolutely no time to get used to anything.
Now, you and me were both 16 when we acquired our disabilities, and it is a big shock, especially as a teenager. It can be tough, really, the whole body image side of things, can't it? Just coming to terms of being a new version of yourself.
It really was. It was probably one of the toughest things, was the body image element. I wore a wig to my prom, and to this day I still can't really look at those photos. I don't know why, it's just something that's always stayed with me. But despite the fact that I felt at my most vulnerable on the inside, I have to say the people around me made me feel my most confident. And I think, credit where it's due, young people can be absolutely incredible when something like this happens to one of their own. That's exactly what happened in my situation. My friends rallied around, and if it wasn't for them, I think I would probably still be having issues with body image, but they propped me up and kept me going, and it made an incredible difference.
And I guess sport helped as well at that side.
That's it. Now, sport came a little bit later. When I set up my campaign, Fighting Fit for Ewings, I based it around physical activities and my love for the outdoors. And once I went down that road, as I say, there was no going back. I was just absolutely hooked, and the positive impact it had on my mind, I wasn't actually expecting, but it was absolutely incredible, and I would highly recommend it for everybody.
You mentioned at the start that you weren't particularly active before you were sick. So what was it that drove you to seek out sport?
Again, it was based around my campaign. So we set it up very minimally. We just wanted to document my process and my progress, and put it out through social media, how I was getting on, training in the gym. We very much aimed it around pain relief. I was on quite a lot of pain medication at the time, and I didn't want to spend the rest of my life relying on such heavy medication. So I started with 3 days a week training in my local gym, and once we kind of realised that I was okay to do that, then we kind of upped the ante a little bit, and that's where the physical challenges came in. And yeah, it was just all go from there.
You mentioned the pain relief, and it's interesting because it's something a lot of people with disabilities struggle with a lot, and it's probably something that makes a lot of them a bit nervous about taking up sport and exercise. So it's interesting that it actually helped you and minimised the pain.
Well, the way I thought about it was, I'm going to be in pain regardless of what I do. I can sit on the couch all day and do nothing and be in pain, or I can get out there and, it sounds terrible to say, but earn the pain. As in, at the end of the day, yes, I'll feel sore, but I'll feel great on the inside knowing I've done something. Because believe me, I spent a lot of time sitting on the couch watching daytime TV and feeling like my life was passing me by, and feeling that the fear of missing out was very strong. I would see my friends who were off at college living their life, and I was stuck at home. So for me, I felt I didn't have a choice but to take matters into my own hands and find some outlet to help me. And physical activity in every shape and form just happened to be something that I enjoyed. And also, I didn't realise how competitive I was until I started training. And when I saw results, you know, as I said, we started in the gym. I started noticing muscle definition in my arms, and I really liked that. And once I saw that happening, I was like, right, I am physically strong for the first time in my life, and what can I do with this strength? One thing that got really easy to use was my crutches. They used to hurt my shoulders, my hands, and my arms quite a bit. And when I strengthened that area of my body, the pain in that area completely went away. And that allowed me to use my crutches in a better way, which actually took the pressure off my hip, which is the problem area. So everything had a really positive knock-on effect. And yeah, it went from there.
You mentioned in the video about you didn't want to be a wimp. It is something, it's sort of scary, isn't it, to take that first step and go out and do something new, especially this time of the year. You know, there's no getting away from it. It's freezing outside. So how do you keep that motivation to keep having that goal in mind?
Well, for starters, I think I would be the first to hold my hands up and say that I hated being out in the rain and the wind until I got the right equipment, until I invested in the right gear. I used to spend as little as possible on my outdoor gear, and I would spend as much as I could on my dresses and my makeup. That's all well and good. That type of stuff you tend to wear inside, but your outdoor gear, you need good stuff to be able to survive the elements. And I had to learn that the hard way, spending 6 hours on a mountain in Donegal in driving wind and rain. You go home and you go online and you order some decent stuff. So once I started doing that, then I realized that, you know, what else can I do? In January just gone, my motivation, I have to be honest, my motivation dropped a little bit. And I knew I had a window of opportunity to either do something, set a goal to really test myself, or face falling into that kind of rut of just saying, well, it's January, everyone else is staying inside, so I'll stay inside as well. And I didn't really want to do that. So I set myself a goal of getting up every day and putting on my hiking gear. And the goal was literally to leave the house. There was nothing to do with distance. All I had to do was make sure I was in some sort of outdoor gear and get out the door before 10 a.m. every day. Now I work from home, so I had a little bit of flexibility with the time. And I said I would do it for the month of January and see how I felt afterwards. And I kind of knew that if I made myself leave the house, I would go further. I wouldn't just go to the end of the drive. I would actually get a walk in, and it worked wonders. I basically tricked myself into just getting up off my bum and leaving the house. But it saved me from feeling that kind of the January blues and falling into that rut, and I went from January to I think April before I missed a day of getting out and doing some form of walking, and the effect it had on my health was incredible.
Wow, well, you're really inspirational just listening to you, and it's no wonder we're announcing today that you're going to be one of CARA's new ambassadors. I'm
absolutely delighted and so excited to get started. I can't wait to see what this role will bring for me, and I can't wait to see what I bring to CARA. They're an incredible organisation, and although I'll be facing some quite big surgery in the new year, I am delighted to be able to use some of the experiences that I've had to hopefully help others.
You mentioned facing the surgery in the new year. This is part of having a disability, isn't it? It's ongoing, it's not static.
That's exactly it. You know, I always say I was lucky enough to have only been dealt the cancer card once. However, the aftermath of the diagnosis was much worse than the disease itself for me. The treatment has caused ongoing issues, and it's what's led to me now facing a rotationplasty, which will take place in Birmingham in January. That's going to be life-changing surgery. It's a form of amputation, and I'm terrified, but I actually made the choice myself. I was given some various options, and I came to the conclusion that this is the best one for me. And although the road ahead will be extremely tough, the result at the end should hopefully make all the pain and suffering worth it, and I will get back on my mountains as soon as I can.
And finally, just quickly, Nikki, I suppose, but did COVID have sort of an impact there on your health?
It did, actually. When the world locked down, it had a huge effect on my pain, for starters. I didn't realise how much my routine was helping with pain management, getting into the gym and getting to regular physiotherapy treatments and Pilates. The three of those were really helping, and when physio was still able to go ahead, but when the gyms closed and when a lot of Pilates studios closed, I noticed almost immediately, like last April, I noticed that my pain was starting to spike up again. And to be honest, it never really went back down, and it's what's really led to this surgery option now. So although I never actually got COVID, with everything that came with the world locking down, it had such a detrimental effect to my health. And despite the fact that I tried my best to get out there and get some training in, it's just proof that the services that are out there are really making a huge difference for people like me.
Yeah, they really are. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for being here today, and we wish you all the best with that surgery next year.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And now we're joined by Melin Yap. Hi, Melin.
Hi.
It seems like you're no stranger to appearing on things like this. You've been on quite a few things in the past.
I have.
It sounds like you absolutely love public speaking. It's something you've always wanted to do.
It is. I always knew what I wanted to do since from a young age.
And tell us more about yourself then, because I know you are a huge fan of sport and really actively involved.
Yeah, so I'm a young woman with Down syndrome. I am lucky to be one of a small percentage of people in Ireland with an intellectual disability who is in paid employment. I belong to a team and I work in an environment that allows me to reach my full potential and through employment forge a successful path in life. Without employment, it is easy to become isolated. I am a swimmer and I have been involved with the Irish Down Syndrome Sporting Organisation, or IDSSO for short, for many years. So IDSSO promotes and facilitates international and world swimming competition for high performance swimmers with Down syndrome. I have competed in many countries, including Ireland, South Africa, Taiwan, Italy, France, and Canada. It is a privilege to represent my country at the highest level. Through being part of Team Ireland, I have had the privilege of being invited to meet two presidents of Ireland in Orsanouturan, May McAleese and Michael D. Higgins. I am very proud to describe myself as an international athlete. In addition to international swimming competition opportunities, IDSSO has given me wonderful opportunities to travel, meet new friends, and have fun. as well as keeping fit and staying healthy.
Well, that is an unbelievable background to have and so many achievements. You do a lot of travel involved in that. So have the last couple of years been particularly difficult for you?
It has. It's one of the many challenges that I have found is, as a swimmer, I have found it can be difficult to be facilitated in mainstream training sessions due to people's preconceptions. At every level, the most important thing is support, support, support.
Yeah, I know you're a really strong advocate, so tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, so I am an advocate and a voice for people with intellectual disabilities. I have written several articles for an online magazine called Frontline, the Irish Voice of Intellectual Disabilities. And I am also the editor of Frontline's social media sites. I enjoy public speaking, and I've been part of Open Doors initiative, encouraging companies in Ireland to give employment opportunities to people with disabilities. The Open Doors initiative was launched in 2018, and along with the Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, I was one of the keynote speakers. Through the Open Doors, I was invited by the British ambassador to meet with Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, and Prince William during their recent trip to Ireland. This was very exciting for me as I was given individual time with them. And most recently, through a recommendation from the CEO of Open Doors, I was a contributor to a podcast called Dublin Learning City, Learning for All. I was also interviewed by Ryan Tubridy on his radio program on the topic of disability, third level education and employment. I was the interviewer in a documentary with IDS Tilda called Aging with Pride. It is a documentary based on the findings of 10 years of research into the lives of adults with intellectual disability by IDS Tilda, led by Professor Mary McCarran. The underpinning values of IDS Tilda are inclusion, choice, empowerment, person-centered, the promotion of people with intellectual disability, the promotion of best practice to make a contribution to the lives of people with intellectual disability. I was invited by Professor Mary McCarran to be a member of the IDS Tilda Steering Committee, and I am currently working as Ambassador Liaison Officer for IDS Tilda in Trinity College Dublin.
You're so involved and so active. What advice would you give to others in terms of being active?
Yes, well, my advice would be just to get off the couch and make a start. Getting involved with any sports club is a great way to meet new people and stay active and connected. Being involved and connected is especially important for people with disabilities, as they may face obstacles and challenges which may lead to isolation. Inclusion and diversity are so important, and people with intellectual disability may need support to achieve full inclusion in sport. Society's acceptance of diversity and respect for the rights of individuals with disability are fundamental necessities for true inclusion. As a young woman with Down syndrome, I am aware that when we dream big and others dream big for us, then we can achieve our full potential.
Oh, so well said. And it sounds like you've got even more potential inside you. Thank you so much for coming on with us this morning, Melin Yap.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm joined now by Mark Barry, National Rehabilitation Hospital Liaison Officer with the Irish Wheelchair Association, and Carol Brill, an international deaf-blind golfer. Welcome to you both. Mark, I'll start with you. You were 7, weren't you, when you got into sport?
Yeah, that's right. I was born with spina bifida, and up to the age of about 7, I would have been going to mainstream school up to the age of about 7. But I was in kind of calipers and crutches and things like that there. So it wasn't working out too well in terms of mobility and different things like that there. So my parents, through word of mouth from other parents of children with disabilities, with physical disabilities, had heard about the Irish Wheelchair Association. And I got involved with the sports section of the Irish Wheelchair Association at a very young age, and also got my first wheelchair at the age of about 7. So it opened up a lot of new opportunities for me in terms of keeping up with my peers, getting involved with sport. So from then on, ever since the age of 7, sport and inclusion and physical activity has kind of played a massive part in my life.
It's interesting, isn't it, for a lot of people with spina bifida. Sometimes they try everything not to use a wheelchair, but actually once they're introduced to the wheelchair, it gives them a whole new lease of life.
Yeah, each to their own. I mean, if you can walk and it's working, then that's great. But for me, it just wasn't working out. So the wheelchair became a tool for independence. And it was good positive imagery because I had got involved in sport. So straight away I was, at 7, 8, 9 years of age, I was travelling around the country participating in, there was track and field programmes even then, and wheelchair basketball programmes that we were all involved in. So there wasn't the variety of opportunity that we have now, but there certainly was a little bit of opportunity then. And it just allowed me to get involved with my peers, who were some of whom were my mates at home, but also from a disability sports perspective. I got to meet a lot of other young boys and girls at the time, and we became lifelong friends and lifelong involvement in sport. And from that then I became really involved in kind of high level participation as well as I got older. So I got involved with wheelchair racing. I trained for about 4 years to try to get to Barcelona in '92 for the Paralympics. Managed to do that just very close to the deadline. And then after that, then I had a chance to go to college in Waterford as a result of a scholarship because of my background in sport. And so basically, I've had a lifelong involvement in disability sport and recreation.
Well, we'll come back to the Paralympics in a few minutes, but Carol, for you, your introduction to disability sport took a lot longer, didn't it?
It did. I suppose, my diagnosis of Usher syndrome, which causes deaf blindness, really came when I was 21. And by then, I had been playing tennis, I'd been playing basketball, and then to be told that you're losing your sight, it was kind of devastating. So let's put it this way, it took a long time to kind of come around to the diagnosis and then come around to thinking, well, what am I going to do to keep physically active? Because I used to go into the gym quite a lot and all of that, so I just felt I couldn't do that anymore independently. So I just happened to come across golf just only something like 6 years ago by accident, only for research purposes, to help other visually impaired people explore what sports were available to them. And I never liked golf. I absolutely hated golf. And then I just found that there was a local clinic for blind golfers going on, and up the road for me, and I went up, and club went into my hand, and that was it. I was absolutely hooked.
It's amazing, isn't it? And it shows sometimes you just have to try something before you know whether you're going to take to it or not.
Yeah. I mean, because, spectator sports is very, very difficult, very different to sports that you participate in. And, as for the golf, I just absolutely hated it. But now I just can't really go a day without thinking about getting out there and playing.
It's amazing, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit about the supports that your club have put in place and the WhatsApp group that you have?
Yeah, I'm a member in Stackstown, and to say that they were very welcoming of me. I was very nervous to join any golf club because I felt, a lot of people think, oh, visually impaired golfer, our car windows are going to get smashed, there's going to be a lot of stray golf balls going around the place. But I have to say the ladies committee were fantastic. They supported me by setting up a WhatsApp group. We called them Girl Guides, and all I have to do is just put in a message saying, girls, I'd like to go out next week. Is there somebody available to walk with me? Because I have to borrow someone else's eyes to be able to play golf. I have to, I can't see where the ball is going. So the Girl Guides is a fantastic group. It just enables me and empowers me to play a sport that I love.
It shows, doesn't it, what a difference support makes. And sometimes it can be something as small as somebody there that just thinks, well, look, we can just put this in place ourselves and it'll make your life a lot better. And probably it enriches their lives too.
Absolutely. I mean, the guides, they really do enjoy playing golf or guiding me to play golf. I get free coaching along the way because I get to learn how every golfer plays their own game. So I pick up a few tips along the way, and I give people tips too. So it's a give and take situation. It's not a one way. And people, it is very hard to ask for help, but people are only too happy to help. And the rewards to get involved with disability sport is you just can't put a number on it. People will get so much enjoyment in their own way.
And Mark, we mentioned earlier that you work as liaison between the IWA and rehab. How much does that role inform you now as a person, and how much does your personal experience help in that role?
I suppose, given my background, I've had a disability from birth as well, and I've been a patient in the NIH when I was younger as well, so some of my earliest opportunities were in there, taking part in various different sports. And throughout my role, I was a sports development officer for IWA Sport. Now I'm in the new role, a liaison with the NIH, but I still do an awful lot of work with sport and recreation. And since 2013, we've had like a national sports championships there. And we've only just finished it in November, the first week in November. And that was basically a weeks-long sports event where all the patients got a chance to experience competitive and some development and exhibition sports all throughout that week. So like wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, powerlifting, table tennis, you name it, there was a sport there. And so that was our 8th annual championships. And for me, that is a really good opportunity for the patients, young and adult, to see their role models like you had here in the studios of RTE during the Paralympics. So it's a good chance for these patients to see what can be achieved if you want to go to the very elite level. But for many of the patients, it's about getting back to their families, their wives and their husbands and their families and friends, and getting involved with their local leisure centre or the local sports club or the local junior club. So that's really important to them. And we're working with patients with a full variety of different disabilities, so spinal cord injury, acquired brain injury and limb absence. So it was a massive long week of sport, and that's just one week. Like every week there's always something going on there. They have a fully inclusive dual use machinery gym and sports and activities and recreational activities every week throughout the calendar year to complement the therapies in there. So it's just brilliant to see, and the staff in there are just amazing what they do and how that complements the work in the Irish Wheelchair Association as well.
And I suppose you see firsthand how sport can impact the person and the mental health aspect of struggling really to adjust with a new life with a disability for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've chatted to staff in there who are like physiotherapists, occupational therapists, psychologists, social workers, and to a person, everybody says the same thing. It's about planting a seed. So you're planting the seed about inclusion and sport and moving forward. To many people who, especially if you acquire a disability, and in some cases for parents of children who are born with congenital disabilities, they can feel that there might not be much out there. But knowledge is power, so it's knowing. You've got the likes of CARA, the Irish Wheelchair Association, other disability sport NGBs, mainstream national governing bodies of sport. Kind of everybody's going on the journey now of inclusion, which is great to see compared to when I was younger, which, it was a slow road then, but it just seems to be just like a juggernaut now in terms of inclusion and national governing bodies of sports and mainstream governing bodies of sports basically wanting to be inclusive, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's amazing, Carol, isn't it, to see this, to doors open up for people. And, you're inspirational really that you found golf later in life, because a lot of people who acquire disability later, or whether it's a gradual disability, might feel, oh, the ship has sailed for me, I can't get involved in sport anymore.
Well, it's fair to say that before I found out about my diagnosis, I felt you know, I was just a dreamer. But when I was told, you know, about what was ahead of me, I just thought, right, I have to do something with my life. And it took me a while to find golf, obviously, but I think, you know, it's not just about playing in the sport. It's about participation. It's about meeting other people. It's about forgetting about, you know, the real world for a while and getting so much mental health benefits from it, and making some wonderful, wonderful friends. I have to say, I don't know where I'd be now without golf, and I'm glad, even though I was quite late coming into the sport, I still feel, yes, I may not be as young and chipper as young golfers coming up the stream, but you know, I think it's never too late. Once you get the benefit out of it, once you get the enjoyment, you know, and it's thanks to people out there, and CARA is getting the word out there about not leaving us behind, and that's the message, is, you know, don't leave anyone behind. Share your sport, share what you get out of your sport with somebody else, help them, facilitate them, just say, how can I help you? Because sometimes it's quite hard to ask for help. So, you know, just be you know, forward and just say, how can I help you play a sport? So.
And Mark, we mentioned that you competed at the Barcelona Games. I'm sure there's a lot of young people out there where their big dream, the pinnacle of their, you know, career would be potentially to compete at a Paralympic Games. Can you describe what it meant to you to be there and represent your country?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was very young at the time, probably too young. I think I was at 18, but I'd been training from the age of about 13 or 14 to get there. But there wasn't the same coverage as there is now. But I remember at the time, Barcelona and the organising committee put on like an amazing Paralympic Games. There were full stadia there. They really sold it to the local citizens in Barcelona, so everybody came out to watch it. And even like just recently, 3 or 4 years ago, a friend of mine who was there competing in field events, he actually had a cassette that he had recorded of us all at the airport. So I got to see like my parents and, you know, friends and family there, and my friends and family came out at the time as well, which was great. But just now, I think it's especially good just to see our athletes that are there. And for them to be great role models to our youngsters. So now when you throw out names like Ellen Keane or Nicole Turner or Patrick Monaghan, like the youngsters that we know who have disabilities, they know these athletes. And I knew about the older athletes when I was younger in our little bubble, but now we're seeing them in mainstream TV, which is great to see. So long may that continue. And I think, yeah, once that barrier has been broken in terms of publicity, I think it's only going to go progress forward, you know.
Indeed, well said. Well, look, thank you very much, Mark and Carol. I'm sure you've inspired many people watching today.
Thanks a lot.
For this next session, we're going to focus on accessing the great outdoors. Since the arrival of the COVID-19 virus, many of us have embraced the outdoor lifestyle, and we've all been encouraged to explore and be active in the fresh air as a safe alternative to indoor exercise. This focus on the outdoor environment has also led to the launch of Sport Ireland's policy on sport and physical activity in the outdoors. However, we must ask, do people with disabilities have the same opportunities or choice to be active outside? Let's hear Martin's story.
You've got to start somewhere. If I can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's about doing something you enjoy. It's about being physically active. It's about being on the move and just achieving your potential. I'm Martin Conway. I'm 47 years of age and I'm from County Clare, Ennistimon to be specific. My experience of physical activity has been checkered, to say the least. I was born with a vision impairment, 16% eyesight, and I went to integrated education in Ennistimon back in the 1980s and early 90s. And back then, physical activity for people with disabilities was practically non-existent. When I was in primary school, I didn't take part in activities in the schoolyard. I didn't take part in sport, and essentially I wasn't really physically active. I then, like everybody else in the country, in March 2020, April 2020, was at home with lots of time, not travelling. And I had, over the years, gone to the gym, taken up walking, gone on fitness programs in my gym and gyms in Dublin and so on. And I had done classes and I had gone on various fitness regimes, but they never lasted. But as I said, in March, April 2020, when everyone was locked down, I had the opportunity then to actually do things like everybody else, and I started walking. Initially, I walked a couple of kilometres, then I increased it to 5, then I increased it to 10. Then I started running a couple of kilometres. And as the country opened up, I actually stuck to my regime of running and jogging and built it up, 1 kilometre, 2 kilometres. And then I started doing up to 5 kilometres. So all of 2020, I disciplined myself that 4 or 5 times a week I would do my 5K. And as we moved into 2021, I kept that up and I found that I was actually enjoying it. It was good for my physical health. I felt it was good for my mental health. I felt it was good for my confidence and self-esteem. And, it was something that I started building into my life. It was a challenge. Obviously, starting off was difficult. When you're starting from a low base, it's a gradual build. But I focused on it. I was determined to improve my physical health. 2021 came and I still kept the running program up, but then I embraced swimming. I had swam as a child because living by the sea near Lahinch, there was always the opportunity to do water sports. I suppose I'd go back to what I said at the beginning. I've tried many different regimes of fitness. I've gone to the gym, I've done the weights, I've done the programs, but I never really enjoyed them. But what I'm doing now I enjoy, and that's why it's been so sustainable. I've been doing it now almost 2 years, and hopefully I'll be doing it for many more years to come. What creates mental health? If you don't feel confident and if you don't feel healthy, if you don't feel physically healthy, well, that is going to have an impact on mental health. Whereas if you are physically active, if you feel healthy, if you feel that you're losing weight and you're getting into shape, well, that kind of goes hand in hand. It's a parallel process. You will feel far better, and if you feel far better, that's going to have a positive impact on your mental health. But I would say to you out there, or anybody who is not physically active at the moment with a physical disability, you can be. Just eliminate the excuses. Try and find an activity that you enjoy. You will get there.
With me now is Deborah Foley, the acting coordinator with Carlow Sports Partnership. Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Joanne.
Just tell us, it seems as if down in Carlow you put a huge emphasis on the outdoors.
Yeah, well, we're very lucky in Carlow because the River Barrow runs right through the heart. We have Mount Leinster's foothills. We have a whole wide amenity and infrastructure, outdoor infrastructure that's there for everyone to explore. We're very lucky that we have a very progressive local authority and we have an excellent team, and particularly an excellent SIDO, within the sports partnership.
It seems so obvious when you put it that way, but I think when we're thinking of physical activity, we always immediately assume, team sports and gyms.
Yes, absolutely. And to be fair, I was one of those people. I grew up in rural Carlow. I played intercounty, camogie football. And then it was when I got to third level and started studying outdoor recreation that my whole world was opened up to land and water-based pursuits, which typically we wouldn't have seen growing up, which is madness when you're part of it, when you see the landscape we have available to us.
So what do you do to try to get people with disabilities involved and active in this way?
So from a high level, we are very involved with our partners and stakeholders and the disability centres throughout Carlow. But really the key is our SIDO, who's Teresa O'Mara. She's been with the partnership now for 3 years, and her constant work, her summer camps, which started with one small camp with the ethos of inclusivity, grew to then include siblings and friends, of persons with intellectual or physical disabilities. But now it's just mainstream, it's inclusive. We just adapt programmes that need to be adapted, or we adapt exercises or activities that need to be adapted. But all of that is paramount to linking back to clubs for sustainable and long-term and longevity within outdoor pursuits and outdoor recreation.
And have you found that there's often initially a bit of a reluctance and a fear of what might be involved?
Absolutely. I think fear is the key word there. keyword there. Traditionally, there has been some resistance from clubs just because they don't know and want to make sure that everyone is safe and enjoying their activity. But since CARA has come on board, they've gone from strength to strength since 2007. The Sport Ireland has gone from strength to strength since 2007. And I think that whole community ethos and all of the training courses that sports partnerships put on, like the disability inclusion training, safeguarding training, has really opened up that we all just want to help and we want to try. And there's no real risk. It's just a willing to do so.
That's really interesting, because I meant from the athlete's point of view, from the people, but actually it's interesting to hear you say that the clubs themselves have been so afraid. Is it that they'll do something wrong or get something wrong?
I think so, that's it. That's the only barrier that could potentially be there, you know, because you know yourself, people that run and volunteer clubs are the lifeblood of this country, from GAA across to every single sport, and they just want to make sure that their existing community enjoy themselves, and that any new persons with or without a disability coming into that community have the same wonderful experience that their whole establishment has, you know.
So can you see a growing buy-in from people with disabilities within the local area?
Absolutely, and inclusively so, because of the camps that we run in Carlow, because of each camp that we have and we link with an NGB, an adaptive club is set up from that. So say last year we done one with Leinster Rugby, which was very successful in Carlow Rugby Club, and then the Carlow Bees were born out of that, which is a wheelchair rugby club, which is an inclusive, rugby club for children, and we're hoping with Camp of Champions that we linked with Basketball Ireland this year to have an inclusive basketball team next year. You know, so those little steps are the key to longevity and the key to making things work.
And it's funny, from everything you're saying, it's all these links and working with people.
Yes, absolutely. Like, you know, in sport, it's person first, it's personality first. All you have to do is be able to pick up a phone and speak to someone, speak to a parent of a child with a disability who may or may not be nervous about leaving their child. Particularly, we've had some kids with severe autism take part in our camps, and the feedback that we've had from their parents is, it's incredible that I can leave my son or my daughter here, I can go for a cup of coffee, I can read a book, and I know that the excellent tutors that you have up-trained and skilled in Carlow are there to take care of my child, and they understand and can adapt everything for that person. You know, so it's a wonderful thing.
And obviously the last couple of years have caused issues for any activity indoors. So have you seen an increase as a result in people being involved outdoors?
I think so, yeah, particularly with the Get Moving campaign that Healthy Ireland brought out. You know, people, actually in Carlow we brought out Nature on Your Doorsteps programme, which was just really, really simple, a little template that you go out, go for a walk with your family and try and find things on the map. So like a bird or a special kind of tree or a leaf and that kind of thing. And that really got people involved, because there's no planning, everyone lives near a road, you know, every family could go out together and could do this either urban or rurally, which was huge. But also with the pandemic, I think we had an increase of online engagement that everyone had. And I think that did slightly grow stagnant, you know, after 9 months to 12 months. So I think, yeah, it was inevitable that people were going to shift toward outdoors.
So constant moving and changing is obviously key to everything.
I think so. I think being fluid and being adaptive, I mean, you can try and anticipate trends as much as you want, you know, and within reason you do so successfully. But I definitely think being fluid and being open and sitting at the table and have a conversation with people is the best way to keep things moving forward positively.
Is there any activity in particular that has proven popular, or is it the same across the board?
Absolutely. Water sports have just been immensely popular. We're lucky that we have wonderful providers in Carlow with the Carlow Kilkenny ETB outdoor rec providers. There's two wonderful companies we use, Pure Adventure and Go With The Flow, and they are perfectly trained people who are willing to adapt to anybody's need. And it's amazing when you see kids with autism or Down syndrome, or a person who's maybe typically a wheelchair user, on the water, the same as everyone else, and no one knows from the bank. Everyone's just in there having fun and getting wet and doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know.
So is it outdoor swimming, but is it also kayaking, anything else?
Exactly, yeah, kayaking, stand-up paddle boarding, open-top kayaking, you know, like I say, the River Barrow is just wonderful, and it goes the length through Carlow, you know, and it's even been opened up to older women in sport initiatives. It's just an all-encompassing thing that really seems to attract everyone.
And what are the priorities then for LSPs heading into the new year?
I think infrastructure is a big thing, like, you know, that famous saying, we've a lot done, more to do, you know, so it's important that we're all at the table now. We're Carlow Sports Partnership, we're lucky to be involved in the Carlow Recreation Strategy for next year. I think we have a really good engagement with our with our county planners and county engineers, and I think that conversation needs to be had across the board, and at a national level, to make sure the infrastructure is there, and then of course the longevity of participation needs to be always pushed and looked after.
So what are your hopes for how much this can grow and how much more active people with disabilities in the Carlow area can get and what you guys can do for it?
Sure, well I think it's wonderful that we have such great summer and Easter camps, and I think that they will continue to grow and continue to blossom and link with the various NGVs like we said, but I would hope that the intervention with the children that we have at their ages stays true to adulthood, and that we can continue to provide support for them throughout their lifetime, because physical activity is a lifetime. It's not just a sport for when you're young and fit or when you're perceived to be young and fit, you know. So I think if we can engage with them now, change the mindset of people and keep them physically active throughout their lifetime, that's our job done.
Well, some great work going on there. Well done, and thank you very much for coming on with us,
Thank you so much, Joanne. Thank you.
And now here with me is Keri Munley, Outdoor Recreation Manager from Sport Ireland, and Sarah Kerrigan, founder and creator of Trouble and a Peg Leg. Keri, I'll come to you first. We mentioned earlier about Sport Ireland's new policy and that focus on the outdoors. Why now and why outdoors?
So over the last number of years, there's been an increase in people participating in outdoor recreation in Ireland, and we really wanted to capitalise on that and increase and to create even further opportunities for people to engage in the outdoors. You know, we're lucky that we do live in Ireland. Our temperature is, you know, not too extreme through the winter or the summer. And while we might give out that it rains every now and again, we really do have a great climate to be in the outdoors all year round. And we have fantastic opportunities that are already there. We have our uplands, our lowlands, inland waters and coastal waters, with a large number of trails as well for people to engage with. So we want to continue on developing these opportunities for people to engage in outdoor recreation in the outdoors, to increase the participation rates.
And people with disabilities, what specific issues or difficulties might they have with access to outdoors?
So there are a few issues in the outdoors. One of course being accessibility. So we try to keep infrastructure in the outdoors minimal in order to for people that are participating there to get the full benefits of being in the outdoors. And then the other thing is information. So, you know, we have very limited information on what facilities are there in order for people with a disability to determine if the facility is suitable for them. Sport Ireland are currently leading out on the development of a national digital database of sport and recreation facilities in Ireland, which will be a database of every facility within Ireland, trails, beaches, parks, sports clubs, and local amenities. And that will really showcase the opportunities there are for people to get into the outdoors and to engage in physical activity. Through that project, we're also doing a project where we're engaging with people with disability to determine what information they need in order for them to feel comfortable, in order for them to go to these facilities to engage. So things like trail gradient, trail width, you know, parking spaces, accessible toilets, and all of this information will be accessible for everyone within Ireland free of charge. And hopefully by increasing the information for people on what opportunities there are there, will also increase people participating in the outdoors.
It's fantastic, isn't it, Sarah? Because it is all about information for a lot of people with disabilities and knowing that they can access, whether it's a trail or, you know, a specific sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that information is key, and that database when it comes out will be absolutely fantastic. I suppose, like, you know, that you always hear the phrase like information is power, knowledge is power, to like arm people with disabilities with that information to know what they're getting into so they can pre-plan, you know, if they need another friend to go with them, if they need a special piece of equipment or whatever the case might be, that they're able to go and make the most of that, knowing that they have the information of what they exactly need before they get there.
Can you tell us, Sarah, about your own involvement with sport and when it started, how you got into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose from my very early days, from when I was really young, my dad did the maintenance in Crow Park. He was mad into the GAA, he was a Mayo man. And I always like laugh with everyone. I either was in Crow Park or I was in Ferry House, any of the race courses. Like, I probably spent more time there than I was in school. So he really inspired me. I saw how social his job was, how much he enjoyed it, getting out and about. And I suppose that's kind of what inspired me to choose my course. I did sports management then in UCD, and then I went on and did an S&C in strength and conditioning, for special populations. And I've just been trying every different sport, like, since I was young, like hockey, horse riding. I've gone mad in swimming the last 2 years, like the crack down at the 40 foot on a good day, like coppers wouldn't get a look in. Like, I absolutely love it down there. And it's just so social. I've been having a great time going out with my friends, meeting new people. Like, I've just been having the best time in the drawn, yeah.
You're really selling this women, Sarah. I think I'm going to have to meet you down at the 40-foot someday.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you started, when you applied for that course first off in UCD, you knew you were going in there as someone with a disability. Were you a bit nervous about how the other people on the course would treat you or react to you, or how you'd partake in the sports?
Yeah, I definitely was. I think it was because it was the first time that I wasn't going into like formal education with an SNA. So I was really, really nervous about that. But thankfully, you know, UCD is only up the road from where I live. I'm down in Dean's Grange. A lot of my friends were going there. But no one really that I knew was like going into that course, and I was quite nervous. You heard that it's like a lot of very incredibly sporty people, and you know, a lot of it's guys, and it's very like high level. But everyone was so nice. Like, I'd still be really, really close with the friends that I'd have there now, and they would come out, you know, they wouldn't be as fond of the swimming as I would, I suppose. But like, they're really good for like coming out and scoots or walk to me or whatever else like that. And yeah, of course I was nervous going in, but thankfully, you know, those fears kind of eased up as I kind of got into the course.
And why is it so important for people with disabilities to have that choice to get involved in sport or even have it as a career?
Because at the end of the day, you know, we're people, the same as everyone else. We have the same wants, desires, needs. You know, if I was going out with the girls, say if we're going down to the 40-foot, I keep using it, but it's one of my favourite places. You know, why, if I couldn't get in, why should I be denied the opportunity to engage in that, whereas like they could, you know? I just think that's why inclusive design is so important, because you never know what someone's barriers necessarily to entry are going to be. And I know mine definitely change depending on kind of the season, whether it's cold or warm. Like, I'm better in the hot weather. So I think it's just really important to get people out and about to, you know, there's so many physical and mental benefits of being outside. And I just think really, you know, more so with a disability possibly, that you really appreciate them when you're out and experiencing them.
For you, Sarah, you know, getting involved in the swimming side of things, was it something you took upon yourself to go down there and got your friends involved, or did you access a support to help start that?
My pals actually just brought me out about maybe 3-4 years ago. They're really, really good. They're always like bringing me out, trying new things. Like when we were in secondary school, we set up the like outdoor adventure and current affairs group with just ourselves, like having the crack. So they're just really good, bringing me down, like getting me out doing different things. And then kind of just built from there, got really involved, put out more stuff about my swimming on Trouble on a Peg Leg, and then started working actually this April in with Swim Ireland and doing like a lot of their like inclusion and diversity stuff.
It just shows, Kira, doesn't it, that, you know, the supports that you provide can help people, but often it takes somebody to take it upon themselves and to really make something happen for them.
It really does. And Sarah had mentioned there the work of Swim Ireland and our national governing bodies and the initiatives that they run in terms of just getting someone even just out into the outdoors, not even partaking in the activity, and showing them that it is possible and how enjoyable it is. And, you know, being in the outdoors has many benefits for your social, for your physical and for your mental health. And I think over the last 2 years with COVID, it is really given people, you know, the opportunity to experience that firsthand. And then also our local sports partnerships across the country. They do brilliant work, and again, initiatives, inclusive initiatives of just getting people doing taster events and taster sessions, just to get them have a feeling of what it's like. And then, you know, engaging with the clubs and having a pathway to more sustainable participation. But I think it is just about just getting out there and just giving it a shot and, you know, seeing what there is and what you can do in the outdoors.
Can you tell us a bit about the Inclusion Officer for CARA and why this role is so important?
Yes, this role is really important in terms of providing leadership and support, in terms of showcasing the visibility and the opportunities that there are for people with a disability to get active in the outdoors. CARA have done a number of training as well about the accessibility in the outdoor guidelines, and these are training that has been targeted at local development groups, so those who are actually on the ground developing the infrastructure for people with a disability. And that training has been really vital in terms of opening up developers' eyes in terms of how they can make the infrastructure more accessible, and I suppose some of the barriers that people with disability are facing. You know, when people think about people with disability, if they're not familiar with it, they think of people with mobility issues, and it's a lot broader than that. And it's just about making sure that the infrastructure that is being developed now is accessible. And we've all seen the amount of funding that has gone in the last 2 years to outdoor recreation. So now more than ever, it is really important to educate our developers and our planners in terms of how to make infrastructure more accessible.
Sarah, can you tell us a bit about how you as a person have changed and developed since you've got more into the sport?
I think I've just gotten so much more confident in myself. I've gotten a lot more happier. I've really found the things that kind of make my heart sing, and I know what they are, and I know where I need to go to find them. I won't go on about the 40 foot again, but that's where I go, and that's what I love. I'm watching the sunset down there in the summer, like nothing beats it. I'm so happy, I'm so confident. I've got the opportunity to make so many new friends, new connections, and like, you know, today linking up with CARA and different NGBs, it's just been wonderful. I've learned so much as well.
I mentioned Trouble on a Peg Leg, your social media site. How much chat do you have online with other people with disabilities, and how important is that network?
It's so important because I don't think, like I was saying earlier, I don't think necessarily you always realise kind of the barriers to participation and to entry into sport like that we necessarily realise. And over like the course of maybe the last, I say year and a half more so than ever, since I've started going out and doing the inclusive Pilates and a dip through Swim Ireland and through like with my friend Eve and with CARA and stuff, I really realised that like, you don't really know what inclusion means to one person. Like, you know, we had people with breast cancer, you know, recovering from breast cancer at our inclusive Pilates and the dips. And like you said, Ciara, a lot of the time people would think automatically that it's mobility issues, but it is so much more than that. And just being open and like adaptable on the day and flexible with the person, I just think it's so interesting, and it means so much.
And talk to me about Fit for All Week and your inclusive Pilates classes. What sort of uptake did you have for that, and you know, how interested were people?
Thankfully, the reception that we got was really positive. Niamh is a brilliant, you know, Pilates instructor, and she's very open, and we got a lot of really good kind of feedback online. Even the classes that we did in person, they were absolutely wonderful. And Fit for All, I think they had the record number of gyms and leisure centres signing up this year. So I think that's really good that we see a lot of like people in our industry really buying into and caring about inclusive fitness and like raising awareness for people with disabilities.
And finally for you, Ciara, what will your priorities be now next year, looking ahead to 2022?
So looking ahead to 2022, we're actually in the middle of developing a national outdoor recreation strategy, and that is being led by a group called Comhairle na Tuatha. So we're looking at, you know, what are the objectives of this strategy in terms of developing opportunities for people to engage in the outdoors. One of the biggest things, and Sarah had mentioned it there, is around visibility, making sure that we're showcasing the opportunities for people to get active in the outdoors, but also making sure that we're more inclusive in the imagery that we use. You know, everything from social media campaigns, public awareness campaigns, even to, you know, when we're promoting places to go into the outdoors, making sure that that messaging is inclusive, both from an image point of view and from the wording that is used in the messaging.
Brilliant. It's fantastic how far everybody has come. Thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Now with us is Tom Losay, Managing Director of Liquid Therapy. Hi, Tom.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. I have to say that I'm both fascinated and love the idea of and terrified of liquid therapy. So could you tell us a bit about it, please?
Yeah, Liquid Therapy is an ocean-based charity, and we're based here up in Donegal, and we deliver a range of inclusive programs across the year that just really engage and facilitate each young person at their level and just give them the opportunity to reach their aquatic potential in the ocean.
So what kind of aquatic potential? What activities do you do?
So we're all based around like surfing and time in the ocean, but then for some people just experiencing the ocean environment for the first time is a pretty awesome experience. So that could even just be building sandcastles. But no, we work with each young person where they're at in a one-to-one capacity and then tailor an experience that lets them build their confidence and resiliency to find their happy place in the water.
And it sounds as if from the very beginning you were just very keen to make sure that this was an inclusive environment.
Yeah, definitely. That was the whole way I kind of got into it. I was managing a mainstream school and I'd had experience of autism as therapy in California, and I knew the power and the impact it had. And then the more time we spent engaging with those on the autistic spectrum, we started to get interest and queries from people with other additional needs. And then we were like, right, inclusion's inclusion. And we just opened up the doors to work with any young person that couldn't or who struggled to participate in a mainstream environment.
And how difficult was that to adapt as you went along? And presumably you're continuously adapting.
Yeah, it was definitely a few trips to Google every now and again to figure out what things were. CARA were incredible support anytime we needed to pick up the phone to just get clarification on one or two things. And now we see that as really exciting that somebody sees that they've got that opportunity, and it's for us to find the right platform and the right methodology to deliver a positive experience. Surfing's pretty unique that you've got such a broad range of equipment that you can really use a lot of different tools to have a really positive experience. And sometimes, like just going to the beach is positive for the family. So just getting somebody into the water that couldn't or who struggled to, then that's just a positive experience, isn't it?
You must have seen some great things from people down through the years who probably felt that they weren't ever going to get those opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. I think so often with the young people, they've got a real can-do approach. And it's often the parents that maybe have had like a very challenging journey and a lot of experiences of like can'ts or cannots. And then when the whole family get to see that positive experience, every year it's very special.
And do you think that all over the country, because you're in the most ideal place to be able to take advantage of the natural landscape, but there's loads of that around Ireland as well. Is there enough being done from that side of things?
I suppose the honest answer is no in regards to maybe an organisation like Liquid Therapy existing anywhere else. I think there's definitely the tools to deliver. But it was quite a special set of circumstances that facilitated Liquid Therapy's journey and growth. And it's a really good question, but I think there's plenty more opportunity that can happen.
Okay, well, you say you had a specific set of circumstances, but is there any advice you can at least offer to people who might be interested in doing something similar?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like we've really discovered a strong partnership approach has really facilitated and accelerated our growth and our confidence. So looking at what's there, understanding that you have the likes of CARA, your local sports partnerships and inclusion offices. There's Liquid Therapy, we're here to help. You have your governing body that is Irish Surfing, and actually like inclusion on any level, like it's a mix of those players and partners that can really support you to achieve your vision and your goals.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing, and it sounds like you've achieved great things as well. So best of luck with that, and I hope we do see plenty more people around the country doing something similar. Thank you very much, Tom Lasay.
Thank you, Joanne.
And we can actually now go to somebody who makes the very most of Liquid Therapy, and that's surfer Charlie Clay. Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
Well, tell us exactly, so you're a surfer, so tell us a bit about what that's like.
So I really enjoy surfing. I just, being out on the water, I just love it and the freedom of it. It's just a really good experience.
And how did you start?
I started when I was 8. We found Liquid Therapy online and my mum signed me up for a class and I haven't stopped doing it with them since.
Oh, so you loved it straight away?
Yeah, the very first lesson, I just instantly fell in love with it.
And you said it's all about the freedom of being out there. Is it not absolutely terrifying?
No, not really. Just once you're out there, it may seem scary when you're on the beach, but it's really not that much of a threat when you're out on the water. It's actually quite lovely. And
how many people go out with you? Is there a group who goes out?
Well, most of the time it would be like a one-on-one thing with the instructor, but then sometimes there could be other kids and instructors out on the water, so yeah. And
have you lots of hobbies? Are you very active?
Yeah, I'm pretty active. Besides surfing, I also do swimming and dancing, and at the weekend I like to play on my Xbox.
Do you have any time to just sit back and do very little?
Sometimes, yeah.
And I know that your mom is very involved with a lot of things. Does she help you get around the place and get to all these things?
Yeah, she does. She's a great help to me. I don't know what I would do without her.
And liquid therapy and being able to get out on the surfboard, it plays such a huge role in your life. So it's obviously really important that you were able to find this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would be like without liquid therapy. I would probably be not as active or as in love with water sports as I am today.
So tell us, is there anything you would say to people who are kind of a bit nervous and might have an interest in getting involved but are just a little bit scared of it?
I would definitely say to try it, because even if you're a bit nervous, it could definitely be something that you will do throughout the years, and it can give you a lot of fun and it will benefit you and your mind and your body. So definitely do it.
And how old are you?
I'm 13.
You're 13 and you speak so well and you've got so many things under your belt already, and you've made a film as well. Tell us about that.
So when I was 10, a Norwegian film crew came and we filmed Charlie Surfer, and it's about just basically me and liquid therapy, and it's about me being a surfer and just trying to stand up on the board and floss. So it's a very good film and they did a great job on it.
Well, Charlie, thanks so much for coming on with us today. And just to finish off with you, we're going to have a little peek at that movie.
I'm a bit different to boys and girls in my class. My brain is wired differently to them.
This was the bench that my mummy told me about my Asperger's syndrome.
It'd be quite hard to tell your friends. It doesn't look like you have Asperger's.
My favourite sport is got to be surfing. I want to try and stand up on the board and be able to do the floss. If I manage to stand up on both my feet this summer, I'm going to be happy because it's pretty hard to do it for me.
Sometimes I just pretend to be like everyone else so that I can fit in.
Well, that brings us up to the halfway point and we're going to take a short break now. Join us back here in 10 minutes for more. And remember, you can join in on the conversation online by using the hashtag CARA LiveCast. Welcome back. It's time now for the second part of the programme, and next we're going to focus on achieving healthy lifestyles through physical activity. Often we hear people only emphasising the importance of sport. However, we know that being active on a day-to-day basis, whether that's something as simple as gardening or taking the dog for a walk, has a significant impact on your health. The New Directions policy also placed a great importance on choice. For this next session, we're going to discuss the value of lifelong participation, as well as an exciting new programme with the HSE. But who are the key influencers and supporters who'll help us achieve this goal? To begin, here's Lynn and Sarah sharing their story.
My name is Sarah and I work as the Leisure Centre Manager in St Michael's House. So Lynn is one of the participants on the Active Healthy Me course, and she's done a huge amount of study in this area over the years to become a leader in physical activity programmes.
My name is Lynn Conway and I live in Coolock. PPALS is for people with a learning disability to become a leader and to be more active and to run classes in their centres. And we did a course in Trinity College for 8 weeks. We learned to become a leader and show them how to play the games, the skittle game and the softball and stuff like that.
Lynn is now taking part on the online course. We've decided to deliver it online because we can reach people in their own environments, and Lynn has definitely been a real asset to the team delivering that online and is a real motivator. She's demonstrated some really strong personal skills in trying to make her classes inclusive. So it's been amazing to see that happen. But the huge impact, I think, has been on her peers and different people that meet Lynn, because she promotes it at every opportunity. She promotes that kind of healthy, active lifestyle, and she gets people on board quite easily. And you can see that that's contagious then.
It was great that they could all come in and do it instead of going outside to do classes, because sometimes some of us can't keep up with the other tutors or the leaders are too fast. So we're glad that we can do it now and show them their level.
We want people to be able to choose to do different things and to try different things, but we also want those sports or activities to be something that can last and that can continue.
If they'd make more accessibility for people with disabilities, you know, but sometimes they don't mix with people with a learning disability, and they should. Active Healthy Me is a course for people with a learning disability. We're doing keeping gold up and talking about what you did during the week, like if you had did a walk, or if you have an exercise bike at home, you could use your exercise bike. But you can do small stages, start shorter walks and keep going on. Maybe do 15 minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes in the gym. If they didn't want to do a full hour, they don't have to.
As Lynn said, start off small, take small steps. It's all about moving your body. It's looking at simple ways to do that, and whether it is adding your walk in every day, or you might have an exercise bike, or you might like to go to the gym. You know, take a small step.
I like them because you move and you're keeping your muscles healthy and your bones active and keeping active.
The benefits to people in the service are not just about, you know, their physical fitness and you know, the health and well-being. There's a bigger picture there. It's about confidence. It's about you know, having a voice and being able to use that and making decisions about, you know, the programming or what happens every day. There's a lot going on in terms of sport and leisure across the country. So get in touch with, you know, those local partners, the local sports partnerships, the sports inclusion disability officers, you know, the local clubs. People are really, really positive about this. So it's just to, you know, keep the momentum up. And I've seen with Lynn how her confidence has really grown over the years, and how she has felt socially included in different programs in the community. but also on the flip side of that, how people have learned from Lynn, how the community has learned, how we've learned. She's helped us grow as a staff team, and definitely given us a lot to think about and how we work and how we do things.
We're just like you as well, but we just have a learning this. We just find things hard to learn.
And to kick us off this time, we have Rhiannon McCarroll, Training and Education Coordinator with CARA. And with Zoom, we have Chris Kane, the Programme Supervisor with Lanarige Service with Rehab Care. Thank you both very much for coming along. First of all, Rhiannon, will you tell us a bit more about Active Healthy Me?
Yeah, so Active Healthy Me is a health and wellbeing programme. It's delivered directly to people with disabilities within disability daycare services. We've developed the programme in partnership with the HSE and Sport Ireland, and the aim of the programme is to try and increase the understanding, the education and the awareness of people with disabilities and the healthcare sector around opportunities to be active and the importance of being active as well. So the programme itself, it consists of 6 e-learning modules, and it's broken up into various little lessons between each module, and it's a nice mixture of theory and practical content as well. So not only do learners get to learn educational parts about the programme and understand the theory and the reasons behind being active, but they also get to then have the fun and the enjoyment of actually taking part in practical activity sessions as well throughout the programme. So some of the content and the topics within the programme ranges from kind of understanding the importance and the benefits of exercise and the impact it can have on your body, to understanding the need for good nutrition and hydration as well, and again the impact that can have on your body, to then the different types of activities that are out there for people to undertake and enjoy. So anything from boxercise to dance to maybe a bit of yoga as well, so something for everybody. And then also we touch upon kind of how to be active in your local community and introduce people to kind of the different activities that are out there and linking in with their local community networks as well.
It sounds so important. It sounds like something that is crucial for that sector.
Yeah, I mean, the research out there has showed us that people with disabilities are less likely to be active and lead that kind of active, healthy lifestyle than people without disabilities. But then the want and aspiration is there for people with disabilities to have that access and those opportunities to be active. So for us, whenever we were kind of looking at the next steps, I suppose, and knowing that there's lots of programmes out there that NGBs and local sports partnerships, they're putting on the opportunities for people to be active, but maybe that kind of link between knowing those opportunities are there and how to access them was missing. So that's kind of where the programme came from. So we're kind of hopefully bridging that gap. So the opportunities are there, so we're kind of educating people with disabilities themselves and that healthcare sector as to how they can then reach these opportunities and access them as well. So I suppose it's quite different to other programmes. So we are having that direct approach and taking that focus of people with disabilities themselves, educating them, upskilling them around why they should be active and then how they can access those as well, whilst also then linking in with the healthcare sector and helping them understand that this is the sports sector, the healthcare sector, and how we can link them together and kind of create those community links between the local daycare services and then also the local sports partnerships and the SIDO networks around the country as well.
Well then, Chris, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
I'm a programme supervisor for a high support service at Lanarige, as you mentioned. We work with 2 other services in Rehab Care and Bray. We support individuals with various different things that they may be going through in their lives. And we work together with our clients to help achieve their goals. And we run programmes daily, Monday to Friday, with programmes like Active Healthy Me to try and educate and guide our service users how to do different programmes.
And physical activity is obviously a huge part of that.
Yeah, we do lots of physical activity programmes. Along with Active Healthy Me, we've done numerous programmes like basketball, football, fit dance, various programmes like that. We did an inclusive sports day, and we were just trying to show our service users there's more to more physical activity programmes, which Rhiannon showed us last year, such as bocce and goalball. So we were just educating the guys that there's more sports out there that include everyone, not just your mainstream sports.
It's funny because that appears to be the general trend of today, is that people are saying there is so much out there than what we're used to.
Yeah, there is a lot out there. It's just finding it. We linked in with our local CIDO, and there was a fencing course for some of our service users. So there was an agreement as part of going to the local gym. A local fencing group came in just to show our wheelchair users how to do wheelchair fencing. So there are groups out there. It's just linking in with your CIDO and knowing where to look, and they're out there to find them.
How did the wheelchair fencing go down?
Yeah, it was good crack. The guys really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good fun, and yeah, the guys just appreciated being involved and learning a new skill.
Sounds absolutely brilliant. And Rianne, COVID though must have had a big impact on all of your services.
Yeah, so unfortunately for us, it kind of came at a time where we were kind of going out for the first pilot phase of this programme, and we'd trained up staff like Chris to be able to deliver the programme in a face-to-face capacity within their service to their service users. Then unfortunately COVID struck, and all the services and a lot of access to facilities, etc., all was closed down. So everybody was stuck at home. So for us, it was a good time to kind of reflect and think about the programme and how we can kind of still offer that and support services and people with disabilities from home, whilst everybody had some time in their hands, I suppose. So what we did was we kind of took the initiative and redeveloped the programme and restructured it into the e-learning piece. So for us, I suppose most of 2021 has been focused on that programme development. We partnershiped with Salasso Healthcare Solutions, and they helped us kind of recreate the programme and style it into that nice mixture of online learning, but also embedding that physical activity content within the programme as well.
And sorry, has that worked?
Yeah, so it's been great. So we finished on that in August this year, and then from September onwards, we held some online training workshops. So I have 16 services, one is Chris in rehab, and we trained up 2 staff within each of those services to be able to deliver the online e-learning content. So we took them through the content, understanding the content of the programme, all the different modules and the physical activity sessions as well. So we were upskilling the staff within the services to have that confidence and competence to be able to deliver the programme to their service users. So since then, since September, we're in that pilot phase. So we've got the 16 services, and so far the feedback has been really great from the content. Some are delivering it within the services to a group, some are doing it on a one-to-one basis, some are doing it over Zoom. So for those people that are maybe still at home or not within their service, are still able to access that programme as well, and be able to kind of enjoy the benefits of it too.
Oh, that's great to hear. Hopefully you don't have too many more blips or mountains to have to overcome in the near future. Rianne and Chris, thanks so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by Chris Cassoni, a participant on the Active Healthy Me programme. Chris, you're very welcome. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what type of hobbies you enjoy?
I enjoy music and films, and I do a lot of songwriting.
Now as I mentioned, you're a participant in the Active Healthy Me programme.
Yeah.
How did you first get involved, and how did you hear about that?
I think Chris Kane and Aoife sort of came to us when we were in the centre and asked us if we wanted to do the programme, and we said we said yes.
And what do you do on it?
It's CARA sports, so they do exercises, help with nutrition and what is goal settings and like what is realistic and what is what is realistic to you.
And how much do you enjoy that exercise?
I enjoy it good, and I find actually watching the visual stuff would help me to follow rather than them saying do this or do that, because like it would be very easy, like I say, you could do it on your own, because there's videos to help you, so you can just, if you're finding something difficult, you can go back on the video and say, oh yeah, I understand that now.
So actually the fact that COVID happened and things moved more online probably didn't really matter with this course, did it?
No, once you have good internet and it's being very well on.
And tell me about the extra stuff. You mentioned nutrition and learning about why you need to exercise. How much does that help to give you motivation to keep on going?
It's good, especially with music, like Chris had YouTube up on the work phone, and we were listening to music, so it was the music helped, and like I said, if we needed to go back and sort of what was he doing in the video, I could say to Chris, could you go back to that? I don't quite get it, but it was very easy to use.
And Chris, there's one point you wanted to make about the doors that have been opened for you as a result of this.
Yeah. Now I've been because I'm very into music. I've been thinking of like ways I can like dancing, the ways I could post COVID and all going safely. I want to start getting dancing, and I say that be a good like sort of stepping stone into continuing like me physical health as like what I love doing, because once you're doing something you love, you don't really feel it's doing you good, but it's doing you good like physically, like but you just see the music, but like your body is thanking you for it and getting stronger with the dancing.
Well, look at Chris, that's a lovely point to end it on. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Now we're joined by Aoife Nwiri, who's a physiotherapist and the CEO of Salasso Health Solutions, and also by Jerry Maguire, who's the CEO of Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus Ireland. Thank you both for coming along today. Jerry, just tell us some more about you, because you have a really interesting background and loads of experience.
Well, I like to tell people that I have two disabilities. I have spina bifida and I'm a Chelsea supporter.
Okay, well, commiserations. Well, not at the moment. You're doing okay.
The Chelsea support bit has been harder to deal with than the spina bifida. But no, I've been in the public service for the last God knows how many years. I worked as a special advisor to Minister Finian McGrath in the last government. And then in March of this year, I saw an advertisement for the CEO post in Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus Ireland, and I applied for it. And to my great surprise and honour, I was offered the post, and I'm there 4 months now, and it feels like I've been there 4 years at this stage.
And why were you so keen to get that role?
I think, Joanna, it was kind of almost a full circle. I felt as if I was coming home. I know that sounds a bit corny maybe, but I felt as if I was coming home. I always had an affinity for the association anyway, and I just wanted to give something back, you know. a lot of people say now I'm whatever the phrase is, poacher turned gamekeeper. Now I'm gamekeeper turned poacher, because I'm trying to get money off the government for an association, and associations are trying to get money off us in years gone by. But it's that feeling that you're doing something for people who are dealing with spina bifida and hydrocephalus on a daily basis, which is a damn hard struggle.
I can well imagine. Yeah. And so why is it then that you set up Salasso Ireland?
I'm a chartered physiotherapist and passionate about the power and the value of exercise to enhance health and well-being and support recovery and so on. And believe that no matter who you are and what you do, there's always an exercise programme that can help your health and well-being. And it was really being exposed to e-learning, multimedia and technology to support student learning at the Institute of Technology in Tralee, which is now the Munster Technological University, that really the idea for Salasso came about. Why don't we leverage technology, multimedia to really support people in engaging with exercise to support health and well-being?
And how is that going, and how is that actually turned out?
Very well, actually, very well. We're working, we're working with the HSE here in Ireland. We're working in the US. We have some great partners, Northwell Health and Hospital for Special Surgery in the US. But we also work with community services, and we collaborated with the CARA Centre in Tralee on a programme for increasing physical activity participation for people with disabilities. So that arose, I think you interviewed Rian here earlier, but that arose out of COVID and the need to move services online. And we have an online platform. We have an expertise around engaging people with exercise for supporting health and well-being. And as a company, we have a philosophy around inclusion. We're delighted to be located in Kerry Technology Park, where the Munster Technological University has the UNESCO chair for including people with disabilities in sport and physical activity. And we hire from that institution. So we have a number of people on staff who have a very strong philosophy around including people with disabilities in sport, exercise, physical activity. So all our software is inclusive. It's part of the work we do in the States. Is that there is very much an approach towards making sure software programs are inclusive for all employees, and that includes when you're delivering wellbeing benefits and software programs for including people in physical activity. So we very much bring that into our platform, and delighted with the partnership with CARA. It's worked out very well, I believe, and we're delighted that more people are getting the opportunity to get the real benefits of exercise and physical activity.
That's so good to hear. And how do you, because I've heard you described as a sports junkie, was the phrase that was used. So how do you combine that with your role now?
Well, firstly, on my first day in the job, I wanted to see if SPHI had got involved in sporting projects ourselves. And one of my family support workers, Fiona O'Sullivan, came to me a few days later and said that she was visiting a family, and one of the family members was going off playing sport one Saturday morning, and the person she was visiting with spina bifida was sitting there, and she could feel that this person was looking at her brother going off with the kit bag in his hand, and she wasn't. And it's that kind of inclusivity that I wanted to get involved in. There's nothing as passionate as getting involved in sport. I have a disability, but when I was a child, I was the greatest footballer in the world. In my head. It may not have been in my body, but in my head I was. And I played football to the best of my ability. And even the fact of when you were picked for teams, I was always the last one to be picked. But then there was one day I was the second last one to be picked. And the glory of that was just incredible, It's about getting involved. Disability can be a very isolating thing. And that's one thing that I am passionate about, is trying to get people out of their own headspace, because dealing with a disability is as much in the head as it is in the body. So if we can get people to be inclusive and get out there, take part in sport, and it achieves physical health as well as mental health. So hopefully, I knew Niamh Daffy from my previous job, so I got onto Niamh, and hopefully now we'll get a decent programme together in SPHI over the years to come.
Oh, I've no doubt, sounding just listening to you, that is absolutely going to happen. And God love the government when you come to them. I'm sure you've already been there. For any healthcare workers who might be a little bit nervous when getting involved in this side of things, what advice do you give to them?
I would say that, as healthcare workers, sometimes we're very siloed and we're very focused on, what we're doing with the patient or the person we're treating and so on. But I think, sometimes healthcare workers need to maybe think a bit broader and understand that they're in a great position to support people in engaging with exercise and physical activity. And, there are plenty of supports out there. And, I think we've seen the great work that the CARA Centre is doing and many other organisations around the country, that for healthcare workers to really be able to inform and to signpost people that they're working with towards the great supports that are there now in the community to try and engage more people with disabilities in exercise and physical activity for great health benefits.
Well, the very best of luck to you, and the very best of luck to you, and I can't wait to see what new sports are being played all around the country by absolutely everybody. Thank you to Jerry and to Aoife.
Thank you, John.
So after hearing from a variety of guests all morning, now we're going to take a few moments to look at the bigger picture. Where to from here? What are the next steps? And where do we need to go now to ensure people with disabilities are supported and also empowered to lead active, healthy lifestyles? To begin, we have a message from Minister of State for Sport and the Gaeltacht, Jack Chambers.
It is a pleasure to have the opportunity to record a message for you all today. Thank you to CARA for the kind invitation. Unfortunately, today other business prevents me from being there, but I really look forward to an in-person meeting, hopefully sometime in the future. It is vital that we take the time to celebrate the work that has been done for disability sport, but also to recognise the work that still needs to be done across our sporting landscape. Events like this one today offer the opportunity to reflect and do just that. Making sure that sport is inclusive and provides opportunities for participation for everyone is a top priority for me as Minister for Sport. I recently launched the Sports Action Plan, which maps out how we will increase participation at all levels across sport. Key to this plan is Sport for All, an initiative which will ensure that all people of all ages and abilities are encouraged, supported and empowered to take part and enjoy sport. Sport for All cannot just be a slogan. We must deliver it in reality, and I'm determined to do just that. It has been a challenging time for everyone since the onset of the pandemic. That is why the government established a Return to Sport expert group. We had to get sport back safely, and it was deemed essential that people with disabilities will be included. And that's why CARA was appointed to this group, to ensure that any return to sport protocols be fully inclusive in their nature. That voice has been heard loud and clear with over 50 meetings which the expert group has held since its establishment in May 2020. As you know, the National Sports Policy sets out the vision for Irish sport up to 2027 and defines the actions we will undertake to achieve our ambitious goals. One of the values in that policy is inclusion. It states that sport must be welcoming and inclusive, offering appropriate opportunities and participation and improvement to all. There has certainly been an increased focus on sports participation for people with disabilities in recent years, which is most welcome. And as part of the National Sports Policy 2018 to 27, there's been ongoing annual investment of nearly €1 million since 2019 to support and expand the Sports Inclusion Disability Programme. We've done this through the local sports partnership network through the appointment of inclusion disability officers in all 29 LSPs, and in 20 through the network of LSPs around the country, over 340,000 people in over 1,100 locally delivered participation initiatives, and of these 16,000 people were people with disabilities. This is part of an ongoing government effort to support and invest through grants to the disability sector, which totalled nearly €8 million in 2020 for sport. The Dormants Account Fund is an essential source of funding, and next year's allocation of €12 million is the highest ever, and it gives huge possibilities to support disability related projects, and I really look forward to working closely with CARA to make that happen. The most important element in all of this work is the thousands of people who enjoy taking part in sport and physical activity on a daily basis. And it is great to see that the focus of this year's LiveCast event is on you, and I'm sure that this will be a really enjoyable, powerful and inspiring day. Having the opportunity and the choice to try different sports and different activities, to learn new skills and be part of a community is really so important. The voice and the experience of people with disabilities needs to be front and centre in everything we do to promote participation and to create opportunities. And I look forward to making sure that that approach is maintained. In terms of people, I should also mention the success of the Irish Paralympian team that did Ireland so proud and achieved so much success in Tokyo this year. The athletes are wonderful ambassadors for those with disabilities to be physically active. Credit is also due to their coaches and the backup of their NGBs, Paralympics Ireland and the Sport Ireland Institute. Before closing, I want to briefly record my appreciation of the good progress being made in the number of organisations that have now adopted the Sports Inclusion Disability Charter since its launch in 2018. That number now stands at over 1,400, which indicates the huge level of passion and commitment among sport and physical activities providers in our country to ensure people with disabilities have access to quality sport and physical activity opportunities in their local areas. It is a good number, but we can all drive it even higher, and I stand ready to help you in any way that I can in that effort. The Charter is a really important initiative by CARA, and it is one that I fully support. I just want to say again, thank you all for your kind attention and best wishes for the day. And as I said, I look forward to meeting you all in person, hopefully in the near future. Thanks very much.
And I'm delighted now to be joined by Anne Rabbitte TD, Minister of State for Disability in the Department of Health, Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. You're very welcome, Minister. I suppose to start off, you know, that's a long title, but you made an interesting point there to me about how you're wanting to merge departments.
What I'm actually doing is, when the Taoiseach offered me the job of Minister for Disability, he says, you've one job to do, Anne, and that's take disability out of the Department of Health and bring it across to the Department of Children, Integration, Equality and Youth. And because we've all health issues, and everything to do with disability should be about equality, integration, inclusion, participation, what we're talking about today. So that is where we all have the health issues. But the barriers we need to break down to ensure that everybody, regardless of your age, can participate equally across society.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it shows sometimes how just a small change of policy can have a big impact for people on the ground.
It can, and what it'll mean in my role, it will mean that I will be able to open a lot of other doors with my government colleagues, be it in transport, be it in sport, be it in housing, be it in education, for the simple reason being is I see disability integrating into all of those departments as opposed to being siloed away in the Department of Health.
It's kind of what we've been talking about today. It's all about inclusion. How inspired have you been listening to people's stories? Oh,
it's amazing. And you know, the stories that I think it was Chris that told earlier on about what technology has done, and listening to Aoife as well. Like COVID, while it has had an awful lot of negatives, it also has shown us as well how we can work with technology for actually breaking down those isolation barriers, for showing people how to participate, for widening the lens of inclusion for everybody, whether they're at home or whether in their day services or whether they're in school, that we can actually do inclusion. We can also show families how that we can participate as well. So while it was, the conversation has been really positive, I think, this afternoon.
And as Minister with responsibility for disability, what do you see as your main priority? What would your goal be?
I suppose really the goal is to move it over to the other department. The goal is to change the lens to inclusion, participation, equality. That is the goal. And the true meaning of that, I suppose, my colleague Jack Chambers would be when he was doing up the Sports Capital Grant, while we would always have the same things that would always need to be included. But this time he looked through the lens of disabilities and looked through the lens of having women participation. But I'll give you a little story. Recently I travelled out to see a sports club that was looking to access the Sports Capital Grant. And while I was there, the first thing I noticed when I arrived was there was a step at the front door. So that said itself. So I said nothing and I went in and I walked through and they were telling me what they were looking for. Then they says, now everybody's upstairs, they're dying to meet you. And I go, and is there any other way upstairs, up to the second floor? And they go, oh no, just up the stairs there. So I got upstairs. So straight away, when I sat down and I had the conversation, they told me what they were looking for. They said, and we're looking for more storage, and because we need to expand. And I said, but if you're expanding, have you looked to the performance of what's required, disability, women in sport and inclusion? And they go, yeah, we'll be able to open the pitch up to an awful lot more. But I said, but how can people participate in your meetings at the second floor? And there was a moment there where they thought, oh. And then they said to me, but if we take all the stuff out of the store rail downstairs, we can put back in the lift shaft, because that was always supposed to be to have persons with disabilities participating. So that tells you we've a long way to go, but the conversation has started, and I think it's moving in a really positive way.
So since you've been wearing this hat of Minister with Responsibility for Disability, are you seeing things through different eyes?
Absolutely. I'm seeing so many doors open, so much positivity, so much inclusion, and I have to recognise the role that all departments are playing to have that. When we talk about active travel, I can see that when we talk about having the funding put out for active travel, that everybody, that we're looking at persons with disability, whether we're looking at a person that has the cane that needs to be able to walk safely along, when we're talking about parking, when we're talking about participating in sport. Like Jerry spoke there earlier on about being able to go to the sideline, being able to be included, and that is the one thing, and I think trainers are recognising that, is that sometimes while yes, you can have your team of 15 over there, but there's other little people who would like to come to the pitch as well. They might never want to make it to wearing the participating to win the match, but they want to be part of the team. They want to feel that inclusion piece of it. And yes, they might have different needs, but it's actually recognising the most important thing they want is to be part of the team.
There's a big audience of people with disabilities watching here today. What would your advice be to them, you know, if they want to get involved?
Well, I also, to the audience of people that's watching, no different to myself during the summer, I think we have to recognise the role of the Paralympics and the role that RT did in showcasing it all the time on TV. There's new role models there, like Ronan Grimes is from downside, in myself and Athen Ryan, and you have Ellen Keane, the swimmer. So all of a sudden we have role models that we can be whatever we want to be regardless of our disability. And what we do need is to have more people trained up to ensure that people can participate at a local level so as they can aspire to their goals.
Mr. Anne Rabbitte, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing all the developments to come.
Thank you.
And finally today, to wrap things up, we have the CEO of CARA, Niamh Daffy, and Dr. Una May, who is the Director of Participation and Ethics with Sport Ireland. Hello and welcome to you both. First of all, Una, 3 years ago, 2018, yes, there was the Sport Ireland's launch. They launched their policy in relation to this, and there was a real commitment given to really increasing participation amongst people with disabilities in physical activity and in sport. So how has that transpired and what has been done?
Yeah, look, we've made a lot of progress and we're really happy. We were really happy with how it was going. Obviously, the last 2 years have really had quite a significant impact on the participation rates of people with disabilities. So that's a little disappointing. But with the launch of the National Sports Policy, a commitment was made. And I suppose that's one of the most kind of outstanding elements of it, is the commitment that was made to increase the number of sports inclusion disability officers in the LSPs. And we now have a full network of SIDOs across one in every county in the country and every LSP in the country. So that's really been probably, I suppose, the outstanding success story. But we've continued to invest, and with CARA's help, you know, the work that's being done around education and training, which is all about kind of capacity building, has been really important for us. We now have a bit of work to do to repair the damage that the pandemic has caused, but hopefully we'll be able to start tackling that as quickly as possible.
And how do you, I presume there'll be coordination between the two of you, how do you set about doing that?
Well, I think having the disability officers in each LSP allows us to make a lot of progress in that area. We have focused people in place, and although it was a tough start for them for some of them to be only really starting during a pandemic, it has allowed them to find their feet and establish the networks and the connections and the contacts, because that's how the local sports partnerships work best, is by building networks, working with others, collaborating and working in partnership. So I think those kind of partnerships have been established, and hopefully then they'll be ready to fly then then really, once we're in a slightly more comfortable position, I suppose, to engage people. But we have done a lot of work. We've done, like everybody else, we've connected in with the digital world, and we've done what we can. We developed last year, we developed specific physical activity programs for people with disabilities, online exercise programs and things like that. So we've done our best, but I think we're really looking forward to getting people out on the ground and out, even outdoors, which is a big part of it, but get them involved in all the programs that we have, I suppose, available to them.
Yeah, because that's why today is so much about the outdoors, I presume.
Hugely, yeah. I suppose there's been a major focus and shift in terms of physical activity and sport over the last 2 years, and a great and heightened awareness about the importance of being out in the outdoors. And you've heard the stories earlier on today just in relation to the impact that the outdoors can have on people with disabilities. We've been very fortunate that Sport Ireland have invested in CARA to support the designation of an outdoor inclusive coordinator within CARA that can work with organisations across the outdoor sector, but in particular start looking at public spaces, beaches, greenways, trails and parks to ensure that people with disabilities and their families can have greater access and opportunities within these environments as well.
And obviously 2021 marks the end of a 3-year strategy for CARA as well. So how has that gone?
Yeah, it's been hugely successful. I suppose, reflecting back on 3 years, it's been 3 years which Una has referred to. 2 of those years has been very different for us, and we didn't expect it at all when we set out with a strategy. But we've been able to adapt, and I suppose that's what the message we give across all organisations is that flexibility and adapt in your approach. And we did that through our strategy, and in particular the last 2 years as well. We've come to a point now where we're at a crossroads now, looking at where do we go next, and just really reflecting back and looking at the successes that we've achieved in collaboration with organisations like Sport Ireland and the HSE, but in particular through the local provision organisations such as local sports partnerships, national governing bodies, leisure centres, clubs. They all are the ones that make a difference on the ground. And I suppose for us, some of the successes of our strategy have been the National Charter for Inclusion, which is really, I suppose, the cornerstone of the work that we do, in that it was developed by people with disabilities in consultation with people with disabilities, and it basically is a tool and a focus for organisations to adopt a culture of inclusion, listening to the voice of people with disabilities. For us, that's what we want to do now as we move to our next strategy, and really embed the voice of people with disabilities. So we're going to invest a huge amount of time with our partner organisations in consulting directly with people with disabilities and engaging with the organisations that exist across the country to have a co-design strategy for sport and physical activity for people with disabilities, of which our organisation can implement over the next couple of years.
That's brilliant. And I know that Sport Ireland did increase investment during COVID, and that can't have been easy, because I'm sure you were being lobbied by huge numbers of people who required additional funding. I mean, everybody did it at the time, but you chose that this is where it was going to go.
And look, we've been very lucky. The government has recognised the value of sport, and that's not in any small measure, it's been very clear, the reflection of what sport has delivered for the population, and that's across the entire population. People's health and well-being has been supported through their ability to take part in sport and physical activity. But people with disabilities are one group that we were very conscious of, who have really struggled to maintain that level of physical activity. So it was really, really important that, and as we established an expert group for the return to sport, where we provided supports and advice to the sector on how to interpret the government guidelines, we ensured that we had somebody representing, as it happens, representing CARA, so that we had that sector represented. And then, as we were lucky enough to get that government support for the sector as a whole, it was really, really useful and valuable that we were able to specifically, ring-fence a certain amount of that funding for disability organisations.
And what then hasn't worked, Niamh, for you, and what needs more looking into and more care in the next few years?
Yeah, I suppose I don't think it's a case of what hasn't worked, because I think things have really progressed. And I suppose the message from the Minister for Sport, the Minister for Disability, and what Sport Ireland have done in terms of investment and direction across the sector has really had an impact across sport and physical activity for people with disabilities in Ireland. I suppose the gaps that may exist, and some of it would have come up in discussions here today, is where can we create more influencers across our sector, not only in the sports sector. It's clear that there's an investment through sport, a commitment through sport, but we also want to get other sectors to have the same level of commitment. And how can we, as collaborating with our partners, support other sectors to have, I suppose, a culture and embed the importance of sport and physical activity for people with disabilities.
Other sectors like who?
So when I refer to other sectors, in terms of the healthcare sector in particular, I think going back to what Aoife mentioned in terms of the healthcare professions, they can equally have a key role in supporting people with disabilities to be involved in sport and physical activity, not only within adult daycare services, residential settings, but equally connecting with the local sports partnerships and the community support programmes that are available for everybody across our country as well.
It's amazing, all throughout the day, it all seems to come back to LSPs at the very, very ground level. That's where it all starts and where the bulk of the work is done.
Yeah, no, and it speaks to what Niamh was just saying there, which is it's about that collaboration and partnership that I spoke about. It's about connecting in with the local community, knowing the needs and the opportunities that are available in a local community, and what's available, what's accessible. But also it's the culture that Niamh spoke about, which is the culture of inclusivity. We can develop all the programmes we want for people with disabilities, but what we really want is for people with disabilities to be included in everything we do, and not to be treated differently, or other than what's required in order to make them the activities accessible to people with disabilities. But we want them to be included as part of what we do routinely and as a part of our culture.
Of course we do, and you're also a huge advocate for the outdoors. I know you're involved yourself as well.
Yeah, look, I think it's been really important, and I think I'll nearly go as far as it saved lives, really, being able to get out into the outdoors. And the impact of being able to get out into the outdoors is the one thing that we retained throughout this whole horrible time we've been through. And what we really want is to make sure that people with disabilities get that opportunity, and that there are barriers, and we know that, physical, as well as, all sorts of other barriers. But we want to make sure that we remove them. We're working closely with providers, people who are developing, amenities that they know what's required in order to make their amenity more accessible. We're developing a whole database of outdoor recreation amenities, and we want to identify within that database what's required, and we'll be consulting through Niamh and her team with people in terms of what is it that makes a facility more accessible, and what do we need to do to make sure that those facilities are accessible and that people know which facilities have that level of accessibility.
I'm sure you've been answering so many questions, and probably which none of us know the answer to many of them. But what opportunities have also arisen over the past couple of years that you hope to build upon?
Yeah, I suppose, again, going back to little we know back in 2020, March 2020, that we'd be plunged into a different working environment and a different way of engaging with the sector, but equally supporting the sector. And Una referenced the training and education and that whole concept of building capacity. For us, that was critical to be able to move into that space on an online platform during the last 2 years. And again, with the support from Sport Ireland, but equally the connection that we have through the local sports partnerships in organising and facilitating some of these workshops, we were able to deliver over 200 workshops to a network of people within the sport and physical activity sector, but also across the education sector as well. And for us, that was something probably we would have been slower to move towards in terms of online learning and bringing a programme online for individuals across the sector as well. Equally, the Active Healthy Me has been a huge opportunity to bring that to an online platform, which means that we can go directly to individuals with disabilities within services and provide opportunities where they may not, during COVID, get out to the services, and it's been difficult to do that, to go to the local leisure centre, to go to your local clubs. But there's been programmes developed and adapted online through the local sports partnerships, through national governing bodies, through disability services themselves, and we equally took on that opportunity as well. I think we need to take those opportunities as we move into next year, because there's many individuals that may not connect either through the online platform or directly, and we need to be really looking and reflecting on how we adapt our approach to get to as many people with disabilities as possible to ensure that they have equal access across sport and physical activity.
The importance of LSPs, the importance of outdoors, and the importance, most of all, of adaptability in this current climate appears to be the themes of the day. Niamh Daffy and Dr. Una May, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
CARA's annual National Fit for All Week took place in October, which saw over 140 leisure centres, gyms and fitness professionals all over Ireland showcase how they're being inclusive for people with disabilities. Here's a video showing how just a few of those centres got involved and created opportunities for everyone to take part in health and fitness activities.
Fit for All Week is a fantastic event. It promotes physical activity in a gym setting for people of all abilities. It encourages gyms and leisure centres to open up their facilities and shout from the rooftops that they are inclusive and let everybody know that they are welcome to come into their facilities.
Fit for All Week breaks down those barriers, makes gyms and leisure centres accessible for everybody of all ability levels.
All gyms and leisure centres should get involved for Fit for All Week. Get people with disabilities in the door, get them exercising and make them feel comfortable in their surroundings.
By making your gym or facility more inclusive, having the sign to say that you're welcome, it brings new life into your gym or your facility. It creates more opportunities for you to participate in your community, and it gives benefit for people with disabilities or any impairments to participate at the same level as their other community members as well.
What I'd advise a person who is coming to the gym is don't be afraid to go to the gym. Go and enjoy it. And if you're there for a specific reason, go to the gym instructor, go to the gym manager, and they should help you.
So the reason for Sport Ireland Campus getting involved with Fit for All Week this year is we try and make people that might be a little bit uncomfortable as comfortable as possible. So there's a lot of people in the area, the surrounding areas, and even nationally that they don't necessarily know what we've got to offer, be it around the campus or in the gym itself. So what we want to do is open and invite people in to get used to the campus, see the surroundings, and see how it's not that daunting all the time, that they can come in and see what we've got to offer and give us a chance to help them become more comfortable in their surroundings.
I think it's important for all facilities to be involved in Fit for All because fitness should be for everyone, not just this week, that every week that we push that everyone is welcome to the gym and everyone should open their eyes more, and that this is the new era of fitness, that everyone should be included in fitness.
The one thing that stands out to me is before I came here I would have had a lot of pain. I would have worn a back brace 5 out of 7 days. I haven't worn a back brace in nearly 18 months. I can't say I don't have any pains, I do, but they're manageable, and I definitely know that exercise has helped me hugely. I remember just the welcome you felt on that very first day was something completely different, something very, very special, and something that was two years ago next month, and I still get that very same feeling today, so that's quite special. So they have different adaptions that allow me to use weights, the rower, different sorts of things that I suppose I never would have dreamt of. I never thought the gym world was for me. It was never something that even entered my head. I've brothers and sisters and they have all attended gyms, but it's always been just something that other people did.
It's really important to take part in Fit for All Week to let people know that you are inclusive. So you might be inclusive, you might think you're inclusive, but other people might not know that. So by signing up for CARA's Fit for All Week, you're just letting everybody know that they are welcome to your facility.
And so that brings us to the end of this year's CARA LiveCast. A sincere thank you for taking the time out to attend, and a special thank you to all of our guests for their time and their openness, and of course to Minister Chambers and Minister Rabbitte.
Thank you as well to our event partners Sport Ireland and the HSE, and to RTE for hosting us here today. Hopefully you found inspiration from this LiveCast and can now say I'm in too. Wishing you all a very happy and safe Christmas.